Who among us has never felt a bit of tension between our life in the church and the life we live outside the church? That sense of tension has dogged Christians literally from the very beginning. The question is, how do we resolve this tension? Today we'll look at one very tempting way, to declare that one can either be loyal to Christ or loyal to the culture in which we live, but not both. Hello, I'm Stuart Baskin, pastor of First Presbyterian Church of Tyler, Texas, and this is your daily devotional for Tuesday, August 23rd, 2022. As I noted yesterday, in early 1949, American theologian H. Richard Niebuhr delivered a set of lectures at Austin Presbyterian Theological Seminary and subsequently published these lectures under the title Christ and Culture. Its influence on the church is hard to estimate, even among those who dispute his conclusions. Niebuhr begins with the simple observation that the church from the very beginning has struggled to come to terms with this tension between Christ and whatever culture in which believers happen to live. He also observes that there have been at least 5 typical ways Christians and Christian communities have worked out this tension. The first of these typical answers he calls Christ against culture. When preachers like me speak on passages in which Jesus commands us to do things that seem, extreme, we often figure out ways to soften the impact of his words, offering believers ways to be obedient to Jesus without being fanatical, obeying each and every word. For example, when Jesus says in the Sermon on the Mount, "Do not resist any evildoer, but if anyone strikes you on the right cheek, turn the other also. And if anyone wants to sue you and take your coat, give your cloak as well. And if anyone forces you to go 1 mile, go also the 2nd mile." When we read passages like this, we figure out ways to soften it. But what if we took Jesus absolutely at his word? What if we practiced complete and total obedience to the literal words of Jesus? Well, from the very beginning, there have been Christians and Christian communities that have tried to do exactly that. You can already catch glimpses of it in the New Testament, for example, in the letter 1 John. Listen to this passage from that short letter. "Do not love the world or the things in the world. The love of the Father is not in those who love the world. For all that is in the world, the desire of the flesh, the desire of the eyes, the pride in riches, comes not from the Father, but from the world. And the world and its desire are passing away. But those who do the will of God live forever." The writer goes on, as you know, to claim that Christ has given us a new commandment. 2, actually. The first is that we believe in the name of Jesus, and the second is that we in the Christian community love one another. Without getting too far in the weeds, what Niebuhr unfolds in his description of this way of being Christian is that it is an impulse that sees a giant and irreconcilable divide between the Christian community and the world around it. This divide is so profound that many who have adopted this strategy even claim that Christians, by definition, do not sin, but rather sin is a product of the world around us. If we can separate ourselves from the world, the thinking goes, we can avoid being snared in sin. Many of those who have followed this logic have gone on to form monastic communities, or even live as hermits, almost completely separate from other people. Others have formed communities that exist within culture but adopt their own separate ways. Think Mennonites, including the Amish Mennonites of Pennsylvania, that embrace a lifestyle of radical simplicity, shun participation in civic affairs, including politics, and refuse military service. In all of this, loyalty to Jesus Christ is absolute, and loyalty to worldly institutions is completely denied. This is a very tempting answer to the question of the relationship between Christian believers and the world around us. But it has its problems. For one, and this is a big one, the idea that sin exists only in the world outside the Christian community and that believers do not sin is extremely hard to justify. Still, these sorts of Christian communities, even if they are not for us, hold up a mirror, as it were, and remind us not to be too complacent in our discipleship, lest we come to believe that there is no tension in the relationship between Christ and culture. When we return tomorrow, we'll look at the opposite strategy for resolving the tension between Christ and culture. But for now, may God continue to bless you and keep you in all that you do this day and in all the days ahead.